His head still hurt from the mental trial. His body was still recovering from the previous trials. He was exhausted. The 8 remaining cadets stood in front of an arena. It was massive, with walls that stretched hundreds of feet high. The floor was made of some kind of metal that seemed to absorb light. Seating surrounded the arena, filled with instructors, officials, and observers from various worlds who had come to watch the final trial. Commander Tholvar stood before the cadets. His expression was grave. "This is the final crucible," he announced. "You have survived physical trials, endurance trials, and mental trials. You have proven you are stronger than most, but strength alone does not make a warrior. A warrior must be willing to face death itself and fight anyway." He gestured to the arena behind him. "Inside you will face a combat android. It is programmed with the fighting techniques of the 100 deadliest warriors in galactic history. It cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be bargained with. It will not stop until you are defeated or it is destroyed." A cadet with silver skin spoke up. "What weapons do we get?" "None, no weapons. No armor, no tools, just your body and your will to survive." The commander paused. "I will be honest with you. In the 147 years this academy has existed, no one has defeated the android. This trial is not about winning. It is about showing that you will fight even when victory is impossible. It is about proving you would rather die standing than live kneeling." The cadets looked at each other. The fear was visible on every face, human and alien alike. "You will face the android one at a time," the commander continued. "You may surrender at any point by saying the word mercy. The android will stop immediately. But if you surrender, you fail. You will be removed from the program. If you fight until you are rendered unconscious or unable to continue, you pass." "Even if we lose?" someone asked. "Losing is expected. Giving up is not." "There is a difference between being beaten and surrendering." The commander's yellow eyes scanned each cadet. "Who will go first?" Nobody moved. Minho understood. Going first meant facing the unknown. No strategy. No knowledge of what to expect. Just walking into the arena blind, Vexira stepped forward. She had recovered from the mental trial, though she moved more carefully now. "Less confident, I will go first," she said. "Very well. Enter the arena." Vexira walked through the entrance. The doors closed behind her. Screens around the arena activated, showing different angles of the space. Everyone could see her standing in the center, her 4 arms ready. A section of the floor opened. The android rose up. It was humanoid in shape but clearly mechanical. Its body was covered in dark metal. Its face had no features except 2 glowing red sensors where eyes would be. The moment it fully emerged, it attacked. The speed was incredible. The android crossed the distance to Vexira in less than a second. Its fist connected with her torso. The impact sent her flying backward. She hit the ground hard, but she got up. She charged at the android, using all 4 arms to strike simultaneously. The android blocked 2 strikes, dodged 1, and caught the 4th arm, twisting it until something cracked. Vexira screamed. She kept fighting. For 3 minutes and 41 seconds she fought. Every time she fell, she got back up. Her arms were broken. Her red metallic skin was dented and cracked. But she didn't say mercy. She didn't surrender. Finally, the android struck her head. She dropped and didn't move. Medical teams rushed in. The android returned to its platform. Vexira was alive but severely injured. She was carried out on a stretcher. As she passed the remaining cadets, she looked at Minho with one working eye and nodded. She had passed. She had fought until she physically couldn't anymore. The next cadet entered. The pattern repeated. Fight, get beaten, refuse to surrender until unconscious. 2 minutes and 18 seconds. The third cadet lasted 1 minute and 53 seconds. The fourth lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The longest yet. The fifth cadet said mercy after 38 seconds. The android stopped immediately. The cadet was escorted out crying. Failed. The sixth lasted 2 minutes before being knocked unconscious. The seventh lasted 1 minute and 41 seconds. Now only Minho remained. He stood at the entrance to the arena. His heart was pounding. His mouth was dry. He'd watched 7 cadets get destroyed by the android. He'd seen their bones break, their bodies get thrown around like toys. Commander Tholvar approached him. Cadet Minho, you may enter when ready. Remember, the goal is not to win. The goal is to show you will not surrender. Minho nodded. He walked into the arena. The doors closed. The screen showed him standing alone in the center. In the seating area, every eye was on him. The last cadet, the human who had somehow survived everything. The android rose from its platform. Those red sensors locked onto Minho. It began its approach. Minho didn't charge. He didn't try to attack first. He waited, watching. The android was fast, but it moved in patterns. Everything moved in patterns if you watched long enough. The android struck. Minho moved aside, barely avoiding it. The fist passed close enough to feel the air pressure. The android followed with another strike. Minho ducked. The metal fist passed over his head. He was in full defense mode, dodging, weaving. Not attacking, just surviving. The android's strikes were powerful enough to break his bones if they connected. Maybe kill him. He had to avoid them, but he couldn't avoid forever. The android's fist caught his shoulder. Pain exploded through him. He felt something crack. His arm went numb. He stumbled back. The android pressed its advantage. A kick to his ribs. Definitely broken. A strike to his leg. He fell to one knee. Get up, Minho thought. He forced himself to stand. His body screamed at him. Everything hurt. But pain was just signals from his nerves. His gym teacher had told him that once. Pain was information. It didn't have to stop you. He kept dodging. Kept moving. The android was relentless. It didn't tire. It didn't slow down. But Minho was watching. Learning. Every attack followed a pattern based on his position. If he was here, it would strike this way. If he moved there, it would follow with that attack. Humans were pattern recognition specialists. Their brains evolved to track animals for days, learning their behaviors, predicting their movements. Minho's brain was doing what it was designed to do. 5 minutes passed. He was still conscious. Still moving. The android had landed multiple hits. His shoulder, his ribs, his leg, his back. But none had been full-power direct hits. He'd been turning at the last second, reducing impact, letting his body roll with the force instead of resisting it. 10 minutes. Observers in the stands were murmuring. This was the longest anyone had lasted. Minho's face was bleeding. His left eye was swelling shut. Every breath hurt from broken ribs. But he was still standing. The android adapted. It changed its pattern, started feinting, attacking from different angles. But each adaptation took time, and Minho was learning faster than it could adapt. 15 minutes. Minho noticed something. The android's right arm moved slightly slower after certain combinations. A mechanical limitation maybe, or a programming quirk. It was barely noticeable. Just a fraction of a second. But it was there, 20 minutes. Minho was running on empty. His vision was blurring. His body was shutting down from damage and exhaustion. But he'd found something else. The android's sensors. When he moved suddenly toward them, the android automatically protected them. Programmed instinct, 30 minutes. Observers were standing now. This was unprecedented. The human was still conscious. Still fighting. Barely, but fighting. Minho dodged another strike. Then another. His legs were shaking. His breathing was ragged. But his mind was clear. He'd been watching for 30 minutes. He knew the patterns. He knew the weaknesses. The android attacked with its slower right arm after a specific combination. Minho waited for it. There. He moved inside the strike instead of away. The metal fist passed behind him. He was now directly in front of the android, closer than he'd been the entire fight. The android's red sensors were right there. Minho struck them with his working hand. His fingers jabbed into the sensor ports. The android stumbled backward, its sensors flickering. For 3 seconds, the android couldn't see properly. 3 seconds of confusion. Minho had studied enough biology to know that vision mattered. Even mechanical vision. Disrupt it and the whole system faltered. The android recovered and resumed attacking, but Minho had proven something. It could be disrupted. It could be confused. It could be fought, 40 minutes. Minho's legs finally gave out. He dropped to the floor. The android stood over him, ready for the final strike. Minho looked up at it with his one good eye. He didn't say mercy. He tried to get up. His arms couldn't support him. His legs wouldn't move. But he kept trying. Kept pushing. The android raised its fist for the finishing blow and stopped. Commander Tholvar's voice came over the speakers. Trial complete. Cadet Minho has passed. Medical teams rushed in. They loaded Minho onto a stretcher. As they carried him out, he saw the display showing his time. 47 minutes and 16 seconds. The longest anyone had ever lasted. But more than that, he'd found the android's weaknesses. He'd actually damaged it, even slightly. In 147 years, no one had done that. In the medical bay, Minho lay on a bed while doctors worked on him. Multiple broken ribs, fractured shoulder, severe bruising over most of his body. The remaining 23 cadets gathered in a room that felt different from the others. The walls were smooth and almost organic looking, with patterns that seemed to shift when Minho wasn't looking directly at them. The lighting was dim, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet and metallic. A new instructor entered. This one was unlike any being Minho had seen before. It was humanoid but semi-transparent, with what looked like stars floating inside its body. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from inside Minho's head rather than his ears. "I am Instructor Vareth," the being said. "I am a mind walker. For the next trial, you will face the mental labyrinth. This is not a physical test. Your bodies will remain here in stasis pods, but your minds will enter a constructed reality where you will face your deepest fears, your worst memories, and challenges designed specifically for your psychology." A cadet with green scales spoke up. "How long does this trial last?" "Time is different in the labyrinth. What feels like hours there may be minutes here, or the reverse. The trial ends when you either escape the labyrinth or your mind breaks." "Breaks?" another cadet asked nervously. "Yes. Some minds fracture under pressure. Those cadets will be removed from the program and given psychological treatment. Some may never fully recover." The instructor's transparent form pulsed with light. "This trial has the highest failure rate of all. Approximately 70% of cadets do not complete it." Minho raised his hand. "Can we die from this?" "Your body will not die, but your mind might wish it had. Mental death is different from physical death, but no less real to the one experiencing it." The room fell into heavy silence. Minho noticed several cadets were shaking. One was quietly crying, tears running down blue-furred cheeks. "You will enter the pods in 10 minutes, Instructor Vareth said. Prepare yourselves however you wish. Pray to your gods, meditate, say your goodbyes. Some of you will not be the same when you emerge." The instructor left. The cadets looked at each other with varying expressions of fear and determination. Vexira, who had recovered from the previous trial, approached Minho. "Human," she said, "I wanted to thank you again for helping me." "My name is Minho," he replied. "Minho," she corrected herself. "This next trial, I am afraid. My people are warriors, but mental attacks are difficult for us. We are trained to fight with our bodies, not our minds." "I'm afraid too," Minho admitted. "But fear is just another feeling. It doesn't control us unless we let it." Vexira nodded slowly. "Your species has strange wisdom for being so physically weak." Minho smiled. "We're not as weak as you think. We just look different from what you expect strength to be." The pods opened. They looked like upright coffins made of the same shifting material as the walls. Minho entered his pod. It closed around him and he felt something attached to his temples. The world went dark. Then he was standing in his childhood home in Seoul. Everything looked exactly right. The worn couch, the small kitchen, the photos on the wall of him and Nari as kids. He could smell his mother's cooking. "Minho?" Nari's voice came from the other room. "Is that you?" He walked toward her voice. She was in her bedroom, sitting on her bed. But something was wrong. She looked sick. Her skin was pale and her eyes had dark circles under them. "Nari, what's wrong?" "You left me," she said. Her voice was cold, accusatory. "You went to that stupid program in space and left me here alone. Mom and Dad died, remember? In the accident. I have no one. And you left me." Minho's heart clenched. "Mom and Dad are alive. This isn't real. How do you know?" Nari stood up. As she moved, her body began to deteriorate. Her skin cracked. Her hair fell out. "Maybe you've been in that program so long you forgot. Maybe years have passed. Maybe I've been here alone, sick, dying, while you played soldier with aliens." "This is the trial," Minho said, backing away. "This is the fear. You're not real." Nari's face twisted into something horrible. "Maybe I am real. Maybe this is the only real thing and everything else is the dream. Can you risk it? Can you risk that I'm actually here, actually dying while you stand there and do nothing?" The room began to change. The walls closed in. The temperature dropped. Minho felt his chest tighten, but then he stopped. He took a breath. He remembered something his father told him once after Minho had a nightmare. "Fear lives in the unknown," his father had said. Once you name it, understand it, it loses its power. You're not Nari, Minho said calmly. Nari would never blame me for following my dreams. She encouraged me to go. She was proud of me. And even if she was sick, even if something happened to her, she would want me to keep going. That's who she is. That's who my real sister is, the false Nari screamed. The sound was inhuman. The room shattered like glass. Minho found himself in darkness. Then a new scenario formed. He was in a combat situation. Aliens were dying around him. He held a weapon he didn't recognize. A voice screamed at him that it was his fault, that his decisions killed them. He walked through it, ignoring the voice. I'm not a soldier, he said to the darkness. I've never been in combat. This fear doesn't belong to me. The scenario collapsed, another formed. He was failing. Everyone was laughing at him. He was weak, pathetic, useless. The voice told him to give up, that he would never succeed, that Earth made a mistake choosing him. Maybe they did, Minho said. Maybe I'm not special. Maybe I'm just average. But average humans do extraordinary things every day. We survive, we adapt. We keep going. That's what we do. The laughter faded. The labyrinth tried again and again. Different fears. Different scenarios. Some pulled from his memories. Others created from scratch. It showed him futures where he failed. Pasts where he made terrible mistakes. Presents where everyone he loved was suffering because of him. But Minho had something the labyrinth didn't expect. He'd already faced his fears in real life. He'd worried about failing school and then studied harder. He'd been afraid of disappointing his parents and then worked to make them proud. He'd feared losing Nari and cherished every moment with her. Human minds, he realized, were chaotic. They jumped from thought to thought. They held contradictory ideas simultaneously. They could be terrified and brave at the same time. The labyrinth was designed for logical alien minds that followed predictable patterns. But human minds were messy, emotional, unpredictable. And Minho's mind had been shaped by Earth, a planet where dangers were real and constant, where survival meant accepting fear and moving forward anyway, where every human grew up learning that comfort was temporary and hardship was always possible. After what felt like days, Minho found a door. It was simple, just a wooden door that looked like the one to his apartment back home. He opened it and stepped through. He woke up in the pod. It opened and he stumbled out. His legs were weak. His head pounded. But he was himself, whole, unbroken. Around the room, other pods were opening. Some cadets emerged confused but functional. Others came out screaming. Medical personnel rushed to help those who were having breakdowns. Vexira emerged from her pod and immediately collapsed. She was breathing, but her eyes were wide and empty. She stared at nothing. Medics took her away on a stretcher. Commander Thulvar stood at the room's entrance, watching. Instructor Vareth floated beside him. Fascinating, the Mindwalker said. The human completed the labyrinth faster than any cadet I've tested. His mind rejected the scenarios almost immediately. How is that possible? The commander asked. Human minds are chaotic. They don't follow logical pathways. The labyrinth is designed for species with organized, hierarchical thinking. But humans think in tangents. They feel and reason simultaneously. They can hold fear and courage in the same moment. It's remarkably difficult to trap a mind that doesn't follow predictable patterns. Minho was given water and told to rest in a recovery chair. Around him, the trial continued for other cadets still in their pods. Hours passed. More pods opened. More cadets emerged, some successful, some broken. The final count was devastating. 15 cadets failed. 8 had complete mental breakdowns and needed extensive psychological treatment. 4 more failed but remained functional. 3 quit voluntarily after experiencing the labyrinth. Only 8 cadets remained in the program. Minho Vexira, who had barely passed, and 6 others from species Minho hadn't learned much about. That evening, a message came through to Minho's quarters. It was from someone on Earth. He accepted it. A hologram appeared. But it wasn't Nari. It was a woman in a military uniform. The name badge read Instructor Hana. Cadet Minho, she said. I'm Hana. I'm a human liaison officer stationed here at the academy. I've been watching your progress. I wanted to reach out and let you know that everyone back on Earth is incredibly proud of you. Thank you, Instructor. I also wanted to give you some advice. Hana continued. The next trials will be even harder. The aliens don't understand what humans are capable of yet. They still think you're weak. You've shown them otherwise, but they haven't fully accepted it. Keep doing what you're doing. Show them what we're made of. I'm not trying to prove anything, Minho said. I'm just trying to survive. Hana smiled. That's exactly what makes you dangerous. You're not doing this for pride or glory. You're just surviving. And humans are the best survivors in the galaxy. We just didn't know it yet. The hologram faded. Minho lay back on his bed. 3 days after the gravity hell trial, the remaining 52 cadets stood in a briefing room. Minho noticed the space felt emptier now. The cadets who survived looked at each other differently. Less competition, more respect. Even Vexira had nodded at him that morning instead of glaring. Commander Tholvar entered the room with another instructor, a thin creature covered in white fur. This is Instructor Pelmir, the commander announced. She will explain your next trial. The white-furred instructor stepped forward. Her voice was soft but clear.
The Endurance Gauntlet tests your ability to survive without comfort.
You will be placed in an isolated environment for 72 hours, 3 days. You will receive minimal water, no food. The temperature will vary from -40 degrees to 60 degrees Celsius. You cannot quit unless you trigger your emergency beacon, which will disqualify you from the program. A blue-skinned cadet raised its hand. Instructor, my species requires food every 16 hours or we enter starvation mode. Then you will suffer, Instructor Pelmir replied. The trial tests your limits, not your comfort. How many cadets typically complete this trial? Another asked. Commander Tholvar answered this time. Historically, about 40%. The record for deaths in this trial is 7. The record for injuries is 23. The room went quiet. Minho did quick math. If 40% passed, that meant 31 cadets would fail. Some would die. Some would be too injured to continue. You will be transported to individual zones in 30 minutes, Instructor Pelmir said. Prepare yourselves. Minho returned to his quarters. He drank water from his sink until his stomach felt full. He changed into the provided survival suit, a thin material that offered minimal protection. He tried to call Nari, but the communication system said outgoing calls were blocked during trials. He sat on his bed and waited. The transport took him to a rocky area surrounded by walls. His zone was a circle maybe 200 feet across. Rocky ground, a few boulders, and nothing else. A speaker crackled above him. Your trial begins now, it announced.
Survived for 72 hours. The temperature was comfortable at first.
Maybe 20 degrees Celsius. Minho walked around his zone, examining the rocks and ground. He found nothing useful. No plants, no water sources. Just rocks and dirt. He sat down with his back against a large boulder. He'd gone without food before. Once when he was 14, he'd gotten lost hiking and didn't eat for almost 2 days. It wasn't fun, but he survived. 3 days would be harder, but possible. The temperature started dropping. By his estimate, it was near 0 degrees after just a few hours. He stood up and started moving. Jumping jacks. Running in place. Movement created heat. His gym teacher had taught him that. Night came. The temperature kept dropping. Minho's breath came out in clouds. His fingers and toes started going numb. He ran around his zone in circles, pumping his arms, keeping his blood flowing. When he got tired, he did push-ups. When he couldn't do more push-ups, he did squats. Hour 12 came. The temperature was definitely below -20 now. Maybe -30. Minho's suit helped a little, but not much. His teeth chattered. His whole body shook. He started singing. Old songs Nari had taught him when they were kids. Korean folk songs about mountains and rivers. His voice was shaky and off-key, but it kept his mind busy. It reminded him of home, of warmth, of his sister's smile. The sun rose. The temperature started climbing. By hour 20, it was over 40 degrees Celsius. Minho's zone became an oven. He found a shadow behind a boulder and sat there, breathing slowly, sweating. The survival suit helped protect from the sun, but heat radiated from the rocks themselves. He felt dizzy. His mouth was incredibly dry. He'd been given 1 small bottle of water at the start. He'd already drunk half of it during the cold night. He made himself wait. Sip slowly. Make it last. By hour 36, Minho had experienced 2 full temperature cycles. Freezing cold to burning hot and back to freezing. His body ached. His stomach cramped from hunger. His head pounded from dehydration, but he'd felt worse. He remembered having the flu when he was 15. 3 days of fever, unable to eat, barely able to drink. His mom had taken care of him, but he'd survived. This was similar. Uncomfortable, painful, but survivable. Hour 48. Minho heard a sound from beyond his zone's walls. A scream, then silence. Someone had triggered their emergency beacon. Or worse, someone had died. He tried not to think about it. He focused on breathing, on staying warm when cold, on staying cool when hot, on making his water last. Hour 56. Another temperature cycle. This time the cold was the worst yet. Minho's muscles cramped from shivering. His fingers were completely numb. He couldn't stop moving or he'd freeze. He ran in circles, his legs barely responding to commands. His vision blurred. His thoughts became fuzzy. He started singing again, but couldn't remember the words. He hummed instead. Hour 68. The heat was unbearable. Minho lay in the shadow of his boulder, barely conscious. He'd finished his water bottle hours ago. His lips were cracked and bleeding. Every breath felt like inhaling fire. He heard footsteps. That was strange. There shouldn't be footsteps in his zone. He opened his eyes and saw Vexira stumbling toward him. Her red metallic skin looked dull. Her forearms hung limply at her sides. One of her legs was dragging behind her. "How?" she said, her voice barely audible. "How are you still awake?" Minho tried to respond, but his throat was too dry. He managed to sit up. Vexira collapsed near him. "My zone is next to yours," she said. "The walls failed. Equipment malfunction." She was shaking, though the temperature was over 50 degrees. "I've been walking for hours. I can't find the exit. I can't—" She stopped talking. Minho looked at her. She was in worse shape than him. Much worse. Her species probably wasn't designed for temperature extremes like this. She needed help. He remembered his emergency beacon. If he triggered it, medical teams would come for both of them. But triggering it meant failing, leaving the program, going home. Vexira's eyes were closing. Her breathing was becoming shallow. Minho made his decision. He stood up, his legs screaming in protest. He grabbed Vexira's arms and started dragging her. She was heavy, or maybe he was just weak from 3 days without food. He pulled her across the rocky ground toward what he thought was the center of his zone. More visibility there. Better chance of being spotted by monitors. He positioned her in the open and then sat next to her, waving his arms slowly at the sky, where he hoped cameras were watching. It took 10 minutes. A medical transport appeared above them. It landed and suited personnel rushed out. They loaded Vexira onto a stretcher first. One of them approached Minho. "Are you triggering your beacon?" the medic asked. "No," Minho said. "Just her. She needs help. You're sure?" "You look terrible." "I'm sure." Minho stood up. His legs wobbled but held. "How much time left?" The medic checked a device. 4 hours. "I can make it 4 hours." The medic looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. The transport left with Vexira. Minho was alone again. He sat back down against his boulder. His whole body hurt. He was more tired than he'd ever been. 4 more hours felt like forever, but he'd made it 68 hours. 4 more was nothing. He started humming again. The same song Nari taught him. About mountains that stood against wind and rain. About rivers that flowed despite rocks in their path. When the 72-hour mark hit, a speaker announced the trial was complete. Transport vehicles arrived to collect all remaining cadets. Minho stood up and walked to his transport on his own. His legs were shaking, but he didn't fall. In the medical bay, he learned the numbers. 29 cadets had failed. 15 triggered their beacons. 9 were medically evacuated. 5 died from temperature exposure or organ failure. Only 23 cadets remained in the program. Vexira was in a bed across from his, receiving treatment. She was conscious now, tubes connected to her arms providing fluids and nutrients. "You saved me," she said when she saw him. "You would have done the same," Minho replied. She was quiet for a moment. "No," she finally said. "I don't think I would have. I was trained to win, not to help." "Maybe that's the difference," Minho said, lying back on his bed. A nurse was trying to give him fluids, but he kept waving them away. "I wasn't trained for any of this. I just do what feels right." Commander Tholvar watched from the medical bay's observation window. He held a data pad showing Minho's vital signs throughout the trial. His heart rate never entered dangerous territory. His body temperature regulated better than species designed for extreme environments. His muscle efficiency remained high despite no food or water. The commander pulled up Earth's environmental data. Temperature ranges from -89 to 57 degrees Celsius. Humans evolved to survive nearly everywhere on their planet. From frozen poles to burning deserts, they were endurance hunters, persistence predators. They could track prey for days without stopping. Their bodies were designed to keep moving long after other creatures collapsed. Commander Tholvar looked at Minho, who was already sitting up and refusing additional medical treatment, saying he just needed some food and sleep. The commander's scales shifted color again, this time not from shock but from something else, fear. The transport vehicle moved through dark corridors beneath the academy. Minho sat with the other 89 cadets, all of them silent. The air felt heavy with tension. Some cadets were breathing in strange patterns, probably meditation techniques from their worlds. Others checked their bodies, stretching limbs and testing joints. Minho just sat there looking out the window at the passing walls. The vehicle stopped. The doors opened with a hiss. Commander Tholvar stood outside, surrounded by other instructors. They all wore protective suits. "Exit and proceed to the entrance," the commander ordered. The cadets filed out. Ahead of them stood a massive circular door made of metal that seemed to absorb light. Warning symbols covered its surface. Minho's translator chip identified them. Danger. Extreme environment. Authorized personnel only. "Beyond this door is the Gravity Hell facility," Commander Tholvar explained. "The moment you enter, you will experience 15 times standard gravity. For reference, most of you trained at 3 times standard, some of you at 4. The current record for this course is 4 hours and 17 minutes. A cadet with blue skin and 6 legs raised one of its limbs. "Commander, 15 times standard will crush our bones. This is impossible." "That is why it is Class Alpha X," the commander replied. "That is why most of you will fail. Those who cannot handle the gravity will be removed and given medical treatment. You will not die if you give up quickly. But if you push beyond your limits and refuse to quit, you may suffer permanent damage. Or death." The door began to open. A sound like thunder echoed through the corridor. "Enter when ready," Commander Tholvar said. "Your time begins when you cross the threshold." Vixira, the red-skinned cadet with 4 arms, stepped forward first. She moved with confidence, her head held high. Other cadets followed her. One by one, they entered the facility. Minho waited. Not because he was afraid, but because he saw no reason to rush. When about half the cadets had entered, he walked forward and crossed the threshold. The change was immediate but not dramatic. He felt heavier. Each step took more effort. His arms felt like they had weights attached. Breathing required more work. He looked around at the facility. The obstacle course stretched ahead of him. Walls to climb, gaps to jump, balance beams to cross, platforms at different heights. It looked like a playground designed by someone who hated fun. Other cadets were already struggling. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish was pressed against the ground. Its tentacles spread flat. It made high-pitched sounds of distress. 2 instructors in protective suits rushed to pull it out of the facility. Minho started walking toward the first obstacle, a wall about 20 feet high. He reached it and looked up. Handholds dotted its surface. Beside him, a cadet with rock-like skin was trying to climb. Its fingers gripped the holds, but its body was too heavy. The cadet made it about 5 feet up before falling. It hit the ground hard and didn't get up. Instructors rushed over with a floating stretcher. Minho grabbed the first handhold, then the second. He pulled himself up. His muscles burned, but it felt like the burn after a long workout. Unpleasant but manageable. He kept climbing. Hand over hand, one pull after another. He reached the top and pulled himself over. The cadet with rock-like skin was being carried away on the stretcher below. 3 other cadets were also climbing now, but they moved so slowly. Their bodies shook with effort. Minho continued to the next obstacle. A series of platforms he had to jump between. The gaps were about 6 feet. In normal gravity, easy. In 15 times gravity, the other cadets were barely making 3 feet jumps. He bent his knees and jumped. He cleared the gap and landed on the next platform. His knees absorbed the impact. It hurt, but not unbearably. He jumped again. And again. Behind him, he heard a scream. A cadet had tried to jump and fell into the safety net below. Except at 15 times gravity, hitting the net was like hitting concrete. The cadets' bones made cracking sounds that Minho's translator didn't need to process. More cadets were giving up. He saw them pressing emergency buttons on their suits. The buttons that signaled surrender. Instructors pulled them out of the facility. Minho kept going. Balance beam next. It was only 4 inches wide and stretched across a 30-foot gap. He stepped onto it. His feet felt heavy, his balance challenged, but he'd walked on narrow walls around his neighborhood as a kid. This was just another wall. He focused on his breathing and took one step at a time. He made it across. The course continued. Crawl under barriers, climb over walls, swing across gaps using ropes. Each task was harder than normal because of the gravity, but Minho found a rhythm. His body remembered how to move. His muscles knew how to work. Hours passed. The facility was emptying. Minho saw fewer and fewer cadets still moving. Most had given up or been injured. The ones remaining moved like they were swimming through mud. Every action was slow and painful. Minho was tired. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His muscles ached, but he wasn't done. He could keep going. He reached a section with rope climbing. A thick rope hung from a platform 50 feet above. Several cadets were attempting it. One managed 10 feet before their grip failed. They fell onto the padding below and lay still. Vexira was on the rope. Her forearms gave her an advantage, but even she was struggling. Her red metallic skin had turned a darker shade, probably from strain. She climbed foot by foot, her breathing loud enough to hear even over the ambient noise. Minho started climbing his rope, hand over hand, feet pushing against the rope for support. The technique he'd learned in gym class. Nothing fancy, just basic climbing. He passed Vexira. She stared at him as he went by, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her arms were shaking with exhaustion, but she was still moving up. Minho reached the platform and pulled himself onto it. He stood up, breathing hard but steady. He looked down at the course below. So many empty spaces where cadets used to be. He'd lost count of how many had quit or been injured. The course continued ahead. More obstacles. More challenges. He kept moving. When Minho finally crossed the finish line, he checked his wrist device. 4 hours and 3 minutes. A new record. Commander Tholvar stood at the exit, his yellow eyes fixed on Minho. Other instructors stood nearby, their faces showing expressions that Minho couldn't read across species differences. Cadet Minho, the commander said slowly. You finished? Yes, sir, Minho replied. His voice was steady despite his fatigue. You broke the course record, did I? Minho honestly hadn't thought about records. He just focused on finishing. More cadets emerged from the course over the next 2 hours. Vexira came out at 5 hours and 41 minutes. She collapsed immediately. Medical staff rushed to her side. Only 12 other cadets finished at all. The final count shocked everyone. 38 cadets dead or permanently injured. 39 others failed but survived. Only 13 finished the course. Minho was the first. That night, Commander Tholvar sat in his office reviewing the data. He pulled up Earth's planetary information. A screen filled with details about the human homeworld. Gravity, 1.0 G standard. No, that was wrong. He checked the galactic standard measurements. Earth's gravity was listed as 1.0 in human measurements, but when converted to universal standard, the commander's scale shifted color, a sign of shock in his species. Earth's gravity was 1.7 times what the galaxy considered standard. Humans lived their entire lives in what other species considered high-gravity training. Conditions. Minho hadn't been training in 15 times his normal gravity. He'd been training in about 9 times his normal gravity. Still difficult, still painful. But within his biology's capability, Commander Tholvar looked at the medical scans of Minho's body. Dense bones, efficient muscles, a cardiovascular system built for endurance, the body of a creature that evolved to survive in harsh conditions. The body of a predator from a death world. For the first time in his 40 years of training cadets, Commander Tholvar felt something he rarely experienced: concern. What kind of species sends their average citizens into a test designed for elite warriors? And what would their actual warriors be capable of? Minho stood in the massive hall with 89 other cadets. The ceiling stretched so high above them that he could barely see it. Lights from 1,000 different sources made the space glow with colors he didn't have names for. Around him, creatures from dozens of worlds whispered to each other in languages that his translator chip struggled to process. He was the only human in the room. A tall reptilian creature stepped forward onto the raised platform. Its scales were deep purple and its eyes were yellow with vertical slits. The creature wore a uniform covered in medals and symbols that meant nothing to Minho. I am Commander Tholvar, the creature announced. Its voice boomed through the hall without any speakers. You are the chosen ones. 90 cadets from 47 worlds. You stand here because your planets believe you are special. You believe you are warriors. You believe you are strong. The commander's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. Minho guessed it was supposed to be a smile. You are wrong, Commander Tholvar continued. Most of you will fail. Many of you will die. Class Alpha X does not care about your feelings. It does not care about your pride. It only cares about one thing. Can you survive? Minho felt eyes on him. He glanced to his right and saw a female cadet staring at him. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with 4 arms and skin that looked like red metal. Her expression was clear even across species. Disgust? That's the human? She said loudly to her companion. Earth sent that? Several cadets turned to look. Minho kept his face neutral. He'd expected this. Silence, Cadet Vexira, the commander said. But Minho caught something in the alien's tone. Amusement, maybe. The commander didn't disagree with her. The truth was simple. Every other planet had sent their best. Warriors trained from birth. Genetic champions. The strongest and fastest of their species. Earth had held a lottery. Minho's name got picked. He was 16 years old. Averaged C's in school, and his biggest achievement was winning a gaming tournament last year. You will now undergo basic assessment, Commander Tholvar announced. Follow the guide lights to your stations. The cadets moved in different directions, following colored lights that appeared in the air. Minho followed a blue light down a corridor. The walls were smooth and slightly warm to the touch. He entered a room where a machine waited. Place your hand on the panel, a mechanical voice instructed. Minho pressed his palm against the glowing surface. The machine hummed and beeped. Numbers and graphs appeared on screens around him. He couldn't read most of them, but he understood percentiles and rankings well enough. His strength, score 32nd percentile among all cadets. His speed score, 28th percentile. His reaction time, 41st percentile. Every measurement put him in the bottom half. The machine's final assessment flashed in large letters. Physical capability below average. Thanks, Minho muttered to the machine. Over the next few hours, all 90 cadets completed their assessments. They gathered again in the main hall. A massive screen showed everyone's rankings. Minho found his name near the bottom, number 73 out of 90. Vexira was number 1. These rankings mean nothing yet, Commander Tholvar announced. They measure only your starting point. What matters is what you become. The commander's eyes swept across the cadets. But I will be honest. I have trained 147 classes. I have never seen a human succeed. Most quit after the first trial. 1 died during the second. The other cadets looked at Minho with what he recognized as pity. Some looked pleased, probably happy to have someone they considered weaker than themselves. That night, Minho lay in his assigned quarters. The bed was too long and too hard. The room temperature was too cold. His translator chip announced he had an incoming communication from Earth. Accept call, he said. A hologram appeared above his wrist device. Nari's face looked worried. Minho, are you okay? I saw the news. They're saying Earth made a mistake sending you. I'm fine, Nari, he said. He smiled at his sister. The other cadets are interesting. Interesting? The news said one of them is a champion from a warrior empire. Another one can breathe fire. And they put you, my little brother who can't even wake up on time for school, in there with them. The alarm system on Earth is confusing. Minho defended himself. And I did wake up just later than planned. Nari laughed, but her eyes were still worried. Please be careful. If it's too dangerous, you can quit. Nobody will blame you. I'll be fine, Minho promised. Love you, sis. Love you too, dummy. The hologram disappeared. Minho lay back on the uncomfortable bed. He thought about the other cadets. They were impressive. Faster than him, stronger than him, more experienced than him. By every measure that mattered in a place like this, they were superior. But Minho had grown up on Earth. He'd walked to school every morning in Sol's gravity. He'd survived summer heat and winter cold. He'd played soccer for hours without stopping. He'd stayed awake for 2 days straight studying for exams. He'd broken his arm once and kept going to school the next day because his mom said it wasn't that bad. None of that seemed special to him. It was just life. 3 days later, Commander Tholvar gathered all 90 cadets in a new room. This one was smaller, with windows that looked out into space. Millions of stars stretched in every direction. Tomorrow your first trial begins, the commander announced. It is called Gravity Hell. You will enter a facility where gravity is increased beyond your normal experience. You will complete an obstacle course. The time limit is 6 hours. If you cannot finish, you fail. If you fail, you leave. What's the gravity level? Someone asked. Commander Thulvar's teeth showed again in that predator smile. 15 times standard. The room erupted in shocked voices. Mino heard cadets protesting, asking if that was even survivable. His translator chip was overwhelmed by the multiple conversations. Standard for who? Mino asked quietly. His voice was lost in the noise. Silence, the commander roared. The room went quiet instantly. You have tonight to prepare. Most of you have trained in high gravity before. Most of you know your limits. The commander's yellow eyes found Minho in the crowd, and some of you are about to learn exactly how weak you really are. That night, Minho didn't call Nari. He didn't want her to worry more than she already did. Instead, he did push-ups in his room, then sit-ups, then squats. Just his normal routine, the same exercises he'd done every day since middle school gym class. Nothing special. Around him in their own quarters, 89 other cadets prepared for the trial of their lives. They meditated, they prayed, they checked their equipment and their training. Minho finished his exercises, drank some water and went to sleep. He had no idea that tomorrow, everything the galaxy thought they knew about humans was about to change.